Unbroken.
Watch where you're thinking, that they give you anything. You build them up while they tear you down, but still you never give up. You never give up.
They
No.
would soak the fire as you hope to rise. It was mostly lies that you broke inside. I know it's all love, I just gotta complain. I got your back, we gon' rise to the flames. You'll be at it again.
I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go, and nothing can stop me. Unbroken. The same old story, it drives you crazy. They put you first in line and we're never around, but still you never give up. You never give up, no. Let's rock you down. Step back and throw it all away. There's pain inside. Face it and throw it all away. I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go, and nothing can stop me.
Imagining all your problems and calling you out your name. They walk all over your carcass and chalk it up to the game. They're ripping your heart apart and just toss it into the flames. And through all of that pain, you are made.
Unbroken.
Don't let them stress, you will shine forever and never. Catch you slipping, we just sidestep them and sever the ties, the lies, and all of the fears inside. You've always been a friend of mine, so from now to the end of time.
I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go, and nothing can stop me.
You're laughing at all your brothers and calling you out your name. They walk all over your carcass and chalk it up to the game. They're ripping your heart apart and just toss it into the flames.
Unbroken.
They'll never catch us slipping, we just sidestep them.
What is going on, everybody? It is another Wednesday night. I am the Solomonster here with you, and tonight it was the Maximum Carnage episode of AEW Dynamite. It is actually a very busy night because there are moves being made. So there will be some breaking news here during the stream in terms of talents that are jumping from one place to another, which we will get into. But the main event tonight on Dynamite was for the AEW World Championship. It was actually the first title defense for MJF, and it was against Bandido, the winner of the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. As it turned out, the Dynamite Diamond ring did not factor into things at all tonight, which was actually kind of a surprise. That neither diamond ring, I think, was even featured on the show, wasn't used during the match. MJF didn't make a play to take the diamond ring away from Bandido. Nothing like that. It was about the title. And of course, I don't know that anybody honestly expected this to go any other way. MJF is still the AEW World Champion. Maybe the biggest surprise of all, honestly, is that there was no angle that they shot when the match was over. In fact, MJF beat Bandido clean, which for MJF is kind of shocking. We had Brody King come out when the match was over, and MJF was attacking him to kind of chase him off. And that is the way that the show went off the air. We got a clean finish to what was a very good main event. I enjoyed that match a lot. Bandido is just a fun performer to watch. MJF, when he's in there, when he's in there most of the time. But you put him in there with somebody like a Bandido, and look, MJF can more than hold his own. So I thought that was a very strong main event. But again, I thought maybe they would shoot some kind of angle when the match was over, maybe to set up who that next challenger is going to be. And maybe they did. Maybe they did, because we had Brody King come out to try to save his partner and save his friend. I can easily see that being a television main event one of these weeks for the World Championship. One thing that AEW is doing right now that I like is that they have set up multiple people to challenge MJF for this title. You have multiple people who are stepping up and talking about how they want to be the AEW World Champion. Kenny Omega did that tonight. Kenny Omega was back live and in person on the show tonight talking about straight up the fact that, look, I'm maybe the EVP, but I can't just snap my fingers and give myself a championship match. I have to earn it. And so that means I have to rack up some wins. Hangman Page made it very clear he is still coming after the World Championship. Swerve Strickland wants to be the AEW World Champion. Bandido had his shot. I think Brody King is probably going to get his, and there are multiple other names as well that I could see challenging MJF in the months to come. I'll mention some of them along the way here in this review. But in terms of titles, we had two other matches, two tag matches, one for the men, one for the women. On the men's side, it was a four-way, and the winners would get a future shot at FTR and the AEW tag team titles. So there's no date assigned to it, but we had Davis and Doyle, the new team from the Callis family. Of course, Jake something just jumped over to AEW. He is now Jake Doyle, which is his real name. And he has basically taken the spot of Kyle Fletcher in what used to be Aussie Open. He is now Mark Davis's tag team partner. They got a win in that four-way, a four-way that included the Young Bucks and Jetspeed, so some established teams. And they did the right thing. They actually gave the win to these two guys to try to really set them up and establish them their first match in. So we know they're going to be right. They've had a pull apart tonight with FTR. So we know they're going to be doing that title match very soon. And then on the women's side, Thekla actually got a win, a pinfall win in a trios match over the AEW Women's World Champion Kris Statlander. And again, no date. We don't know, she earned a shot on this show. We don't know yet. But the fact that she pinned the Women's World Champion means that she will be getting a Women's World Championship match very soon. So I think that this show, did what it needed to do to at least set up some new challengers for some of these championships going forward. We had Darby and Pac kind of tying up their issue at the beginning of the show. Darby doing the usual dumb shit that he does in his matches. It was a good match, but again, he just takes the stupidest risks in his match, and everybody claps like seals for it. So we had some good matches on the show tonight. I thought it was largely a good episode of the show that did some of the key things that it needed to do. But I mentioned at the beginning that there was some news. There actually is news as we speak. So let's talk about the Rascals first, because there's been a lot that has been said about the Rascals over the last several days. In fact, one of the Rascals was supposed to be challenging for the X Division Championship tomorrow night. TNA is making their debut live on AMC down in Texas. And for a few weeks, there was an X Division Championship match advertised between Leon Slater and Myron Reed. And I mentioned this on Sunday before anybody started reporting anything on these websites. I said this on Sunday. I said, it's awfully curious that TNA on their Thursday show last week said nothing about Leon Slater against Myron Reed. And they weren't advertising it or promoting it anymore on their social media. It's as if the match was pulled. But there was no official announcement made. I said, keep an eye on that, because it feels to me like this match is not happening. And then a few days go by, and then some reports start to come out about how the match has been pulled, and there's things going on. Now it's not happening all of a sudden. Well, we got an announcement here on this show tonight. The Rascals are coming to AEW on the eve of TNA's debut on AMC. Sean Ross Sapp actually confirmed it even before AEW made the announcement on the show tonight, that the Rascals, all four of them, have signed multi-year deals with All Elite Wrestling. Desmond Xavier, the former Wesley, Zachary Wentz, Trey Miguel, and Myron Reed. And evidently, TNA tried to retain all four of them, but Tony Khan came in with a better offer. Now, Myron Reed was said to be willing to fulfill his obligation to wrestle Leon Slater on the AMC debut tomorrow. WWE, though, said they might want to use Leon Slater on their European tour, which is why their X Division title match was quietly pulled from the show. Now, think about that for a second, right? This is their big AMC debut, which, by the way, I'm kind of shocked. There's hardly any real talk or buzz around this show tomorrow. I was expecting this to kind of feel like a bigger deal going into it, and I don't get the sense there's a whole lot of people talking about it to the extent that I thought they would be. But make no mistake, tomorrow night is a very big night for TNA. And I'm amazed, but I guess I'm not, that TNA advertised a championship match for this first big AMC show. And they pulled the champion and canceled the match because WWE said we might want to use your champion on our European tour in the UK. So that was it. Match canceled. Pulled from the show. Makes me think that AJ Styles showing up is really just a make good for them taking assuming Leon Slater is not going to be on the show. That's what AJ Styles now feels like to me. It feels like, okay, look, we're gonna take him away from you. We'll give you AJ Styles as a make good. He's not gonna wrestle. I don't even know if he's gonna do anything physical, but at least he'll be on the show. And you could advertise him for the show, which is something that they could certainly use. If you look at how many tickets they've sold for that show tomorrow, they could certainly use an attraction like AJ Styles on that show. As far as the Rascals leaving TNA, that's a big loss for TNA. And I'll tell you why it's a big loss. And not just because they're all talented. Of course they're talented. It's a loss because they didn't just lose one person. They didn't lose two people. They just lost 4 talents all at once, heading into their big AMC debut. And not just 4 talents, but 4 talents that are pretty beloved by the TNA fans. 4 very respected, popular performers on that roster. Gone. Altogether. So that is going to be a big loss for TNA going forward. I'm not saying they're the biggest names in the company, but it's certainly a hole now that they have to fill, a void they have to fill on that show. So Tony Khan comes in and he presents them with a better offer. And he steals them away from TNA. Question now is, okay, he has the Rascals, right? He has all 4 Rascals. Does he have a plan in mind for them? Like, where are they going to go and how are they going to be featured? We're not just talking about one person here. We're talking about 4 guys. And you're adding them to a roster that is already overloaded with talent. A lot of talent who don't get time on Dynamite. And maybe they barely get time on Collision. Some of them have been shuffled off to Ring of Honor, which is like the fucking abyss. So is that where the Rascals are going to end up? Or are they going to split their time between all 3 shows? Are they going to be on Dynamite? Are they going to be mostly on Collision? I don't know, right? We don't know. We don't know the answer. Only time will tell. I certainly hope that they could find a place for them here on Dynamite because they fit right in, obviously, with the other talents on the show. But hey, good for them. If they got themselves a sweeter deal, they got themselves more years or more money. Look, it's a business, right? And that's what it's all about. And it makes me wonder if TNA is cheaping out on some of these talents. The Rascals are not the only ones that have either had a contract come up around the same time or have left TNA. Jake Something. They just debuted Jake Something on this show last week. And he was with TNA for many years. And I just don't understand how they weren't, doing more with him, how he wasn't higher up on the card for them, because he looks great. Obviously, he walks out there and he looks like a star, but he's a tremendous talent. And so how do you just let somebody like that walk? Obviously, it was his decision. He got a better deal from AEW, but to just let him walk away like that is kind of crazy to me. So are they just cheaping out? Are they just lowballing people on these deals? Like, is that what's going on here? Or is there something else going on here? Maybe they put all of their money towards Perez Hilton for the show tomorrow night. In case you didn't know, the big celebrity guest on the first TNA on AMC episode tomorrow is Perez Hilton. Now, if you don't know who Perez Hilton is, I don't blame you, because I don't think he's been relevant for 20 years. I still would love to know exactly what role it is that he is going to play on the show tomorrow. I know he has this huge social media following. We were talking about it on TNT last night, and I went on his Instagram page and everything. Fucking almost a million followers. Hardly any engagement on any of the posts. I'm just wondering, what exactly does he bring to the table? I don't know, but maybe that's where all the money went. Who knows? So anyway, the Rascals are now in TNA. But as I was coming on the air here, and going live. The news is breaking. Evidently, it was Sean Ross Sapp, I believe, live on his own channel, who may have just announced it. It sounds like Powerhouse Hobbs is gone from AEW. Now, they just announced a trios title defense for Collision, which I believe is being taped right now as we speak, for Collision this weekend, where Hangman Page and Jetspeed will team up to take on the Ops. And Powerhouse Hobbs is 1/3 of the trios champions. Now, they have 4 members of the Ops. So if Hobbs is not going to be there, they could always have Joe, Shibata, and Hook defending the titles. That also tells me there's a very good chance the Ops are probably losing those trios titles. But apparently Hobbs is gone as of midnight. His contract with AEW has expired, and the belief is that he is now on his way to WWE. Now, we just had an item in the Observer this past week. Meltzer put in the newsletter that there was heavy interest from the WWE side in Hobbs. Not a lot of clarity on exactly when his contract was coming up. I don't know that anybody expected it would be at midnight tonight. So technically, he's still with... I should correct myself then. Apparently, he is still with AEW for another hour. It's not midnight yet. But at midnight, he will become a free agent, and the belief is that he will end up in WWE. And I said this on the podcast this weekend when I mentioned that item. I said, of course, WWE would have an interest in Powerhouse Hobbs. They would be crazy not to. Just look at him. And he's 34 years old. He's not super young, but he's not old. He hasn't aged out. He's a great talent. He's someone that you could do something with. So, of course, they would have an interest in working with him. Why wouldn't they? And I said Tony Khan would be high as a kite to not make an effort to retain him and make sure he does not leave. But apparently that's exactly what he's going to do. And look, sometimes if somebody has it in their head and in their heart that they want to leave and go somewhere else, there isn't a whole lot that you can do. And I always use Jade Cargill as an example of that, because Jade Cargill was pushed to the moon by Tony Khan, and she was the longest reigning TBS champion in the history of this company. They did right by her. Can't say they didn't. But when push came to shove, he wanted to retain her. She went to him and he said, "What do you want? Tell me what you want." She came to him with a dollar amount. She came to him with whatever she was asking for. And Tony said, I agreed to it. I was willing to give it to her. And she still left. Because sometimes the heart wants what it wants. Or you just see, greener pastures somewhere else, greater opportunities somewhere else to level up. And she decided to go to WWE. And whatever you think of Jade Cargill, look at the position she's in right now. Clearly, she made the right choice. Maybe that's what Hobbs was thinking. I don't know. But this is all breaking as we speak. It sounds like Hobbs is on his way out of AEW. And that's a loss for AEW. I mentioned the Rascals being a loss for TNA heading into their AMC debut. This is a loss for AEW. It's a loss for the Ops. But it's a loss for Tony Khan because it's someone that, again, was an unknown. The only reason people would even know the name Will Hobbs or Powerhouse Hobbs is through his work in AEW. And he has been built up, not as a main eventer, but he has been built up over a period of years. They have invested in him on their television show, and now he is going to take his services and talents elsewhere. He's going to go to the Evil Empire. He's jumping ship. See, for fans, this is exciting to see people going here, back and forth. They're going there. This person's leaving and going there. It's great for us to be able to sit here and talk about all this. But kind of surprising, I guess, that it all happened so quickly in the way that it has. So that's the update that we have so far. Again, it sounds like Hobbs is gone. The Rascals are on their way in. And we'll see if any other moves are made. Again, we don't know whose contract is up when. And I'm sure this year there will be a lot of other stories, very interesting stories that play out as far as talents that take their services somewhere else. Still very early in the year. We're only in the first 2 weeks of the year, and already we have some contract news going on. Anyway, this is your AEW Dynamite Maximum Carnage review. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe if you would be so kind. Super chats are open. We do have a bonus super chat goal going on right now as we speak. And I thought we would do something a little bit different here. Now, I have people telling me, for Be the Booker, we have our Be the Booker segment at the end of these streams. And 400 likes is usually the goal. Minimum 400 likes, and then we can do Be the Booker, and then sometimes we have a bonus goal. which I should mention, actually, by the way, speaking of bonus goals, you may have seen something I tweeted a little bit earlier on. You guys hit one of our special Super Chat goals last month. It was many weeks ago. But I was saying if we hit the goal, I will revive RSPW Rewind, which was a fun segment I used to do on the show. I haven't done one in over 3 years. But I started doing it on the Sound Off, I don't know, 6-7 years ago now. And if you know, you know. You know what it is. Haven't done one in a long time. I said I'll do another one. And you guys hit the goal. You guys earned another RSPW Rewind. Well, it is fully recorded and ready to go. And so tomorrow, RSPW Rewind episode 38 will be dropping first. Early access for channel members here on YouTube. You guys are going to get it first. And then I don't know if it'll be Friday or maybe I'll make you wait a little bit longer. I don't know. But everybody else eventually will get it. But if you're a channel member here on YouTube, keep your eyes peeled because later in the day tomorrow, maybe in the afternoon, you will be getting a brand new RSPW Rewind. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. It's almost an hour. And I got some John Cena posts in there, given that he just retired. I said, let me go back and see what I could find on John Cena and his early career and what people were saying. So anyway, you guys will get that first. Keep your eyes peeled for it. But anyway, what I was going to say is we're going to do something probably from this point forward where the likes goal is going to vary. It's going to vary per stream. And the way that we are going to decide tonight, how many likes do we need to get Be the Booker? We got a wheel. We got the Wheel of Fun. Now you'll notice on this wheel here on your screen, there's several different amounts. Those numbers correspond to the number of likes that we are going to need to have here tonight in order to unlock Be the Booker. So we're going to do this right now. We're going to find out how many likes do we need. I'm going to take this for a spin. There we go. Spin, spin, spin. Really, you got to really spin this thing here. All right, here we go. Okay, there it is. 361. We can do that. We should be able to do that. 361 likes. That's the goal for tonight. We hit 361. We will do Be the Booker here later on in the stream. The wheel has spoken. This is the true Wheel of Fortune right here. So anyway, yeah, make that happen, 361. Otherwise, I'm going to be very disappointed.
My curiosity is killing me just like a cat would be killed by the curiosity, yeah.
Death Scythe coming in with a super chat. Hey, Death Scythe, thank you for that $13 super chat. Hope you're having a good night, brother. I'll be reading all of your messages a little bit later on. What an oddly specific number. The number, hey, there's a bunch of random numbers in there. And I may change it up every week.
My curiosity is killing me just like a cat would be killed by the curiosity, yeah.
So you never know what it may be. That's what makes it fun. Now, Dynamite was in Phoenix tonight. Phoenix, Arizona. They were at the Arizona Financial Theater. They actually outsold what they did in that same venue last year. Not by a lot, but they did sell more tickets this year than last year, so that's a good sign for them. We only had 2 announcers on the show tonight. No Tony Schiavone. Taz is still out, obviously, after his, shoulder replacement, I think it might have been. So anyway, we had Excalibur and Bryan Danielson. We had a 2-man booth, and I was perfectly fine with that. I was perfectly fine with them as a 2-man booth here on this show. Footage aired from earlier today of Samoa Joe delivering a promo. Basically, Hangman Page represents the fool who doesn't learn when they are defeated. Says he will deal with him later on, but the Ops have to get ready for a trios title defense. So he has put a bounty out on Hangman, and that bounty has been answered. And then he introduced the bounty hunter, Brian Keith, and said that he would collect. Yeah, we'll see about that. You want to put money on it? So then they opened with Darby Allin against Pac. Pac being the lone member of the Death Riders that Darby has yet to beat. even though his mission was to take down the entirety of the Death Riders. See, I'm old enough to remember when that was Darby Allin's goal. His mission was to kill the Death Riders. And Jon Moxley, that was the final boss of this equation. Not only did he not still take down the Death Riders, he already beat Jon Moxley, and for some reason we are still continuing on with this. And it is eating him up inside that Pac is the one guy that he has not been able to beat. So seemingly the original story here, the original intent of the storyline has just fallen to the wayside in favor of a much weaker story, is what we have here. And Pac has never even been positioned as any sort of leader in this group, by the way. He's just another member of this group. So Pac came out with the Death Riders. He told them they'll stand down. He needs to do this by himself. Pac was immediately leveled with a tope suicida by Darby. Bell hadn't even rung yet, and that sent him over the barricade as they brawled into the crowd before the match even officially began. The lighting here was terrible. I mean, at least the lights didn't go out like they did last week. But they brawled into this one section of the crowd, and you could barely see what was even going on, because I don't know how they didn't have people like on hand knowing that they were going to brawl into the crowd to open the show. I don't know how they didn't have people stationed there, even with like handheld lights or something, just to light up the area. I have no idea. But they were fighting in the dark here for a little bit. Anyway, Pac stumbled back to ringside until he sidestepped a charging Darby into a German suplex on the floor. So then Pac repositioned the ring steps, and he delivered a disgusting... This spot was just ridiculous. He delivered a disgusting overhead belly-to-belly suplex onto the ring steps. And when I say onto the ring steps, I don't mean onto the flat part of the ring steps, onto the top part of the ring steps. I mean into the fucking steps, like into the edge of the steps, full force. And you can see people in the front row and everything in the crowd. They were like wincing. Now, mind you, the match hadn't even started yet. This match still is not even officially underway. But I watched that and I'm like, it's just bumps like that are just so fucking stupid. But, you know, again, Tony Khan will let Darby be Darby. He doesn't want to butt in. He doesn't want to interfere with their art, right? They're pros. They know what they're doing. But still, this is one of your prime performers. This is someone who, frankly, I think there's a very good chance he will be wrestling MJF in the main event of Revolution and challenging for the World Championship, right? Potentially. But he's out there taking bumps like every match is going to be his last. It will never not be fucking stupid to me. So back in the ring, Darby told referee Paul Turner, just ring the bell. And Pac immediately hit his sprinting lariat, and he turned Darby inside out. So after a break, Darby fought his way out of the corner, connecting with a missile dropkick. He fired up, sprinted right into a release overhead suplex into the corner. Pac quickly brought Allin up top, this time with an avalanche belly to belly, but he wasn't finished, and he connected with an awesome bomb. This was the other one. He gives him an awesome bomb, a running power bomb out of the ring onto the elevated ramp. And you could hear Darby go splat right on the ramp. And so now he's laying out there. Pac goes to the corner. He's sitting now on the top turnbuckle waiting. Eventually, Darby was able to break the count back in at 9. And he flips off Pac. He's basically just taunting him. Like, that's all you got? Is that all you got for me? So Pac jumps off the rope. I don't mean like dives, but like he just goes to jump down. And he sells it like he tweaked his ankle. The same ankle that he previously injured and I think was probably surgically repaired. So Darby sees this and immediately he goes to work on the injured ankle. So he sends Pac outside. He hits a coffin drop off the top rope to the floor. Then another one onto the apron, which this looked like it killed Darby more than it did Pac. He caught more of the edge of the ring apron and killed himself on this dive. So then back inside, Paul Turner got a little too close, asking Pac if he wanted to continue. They were in the corner. And Pac pulled him in. Turner took the bullet from a charging Darby. So the referee is down. And Darby shot a double leg. He sank into Scorpion Deathlock. Pac tapped. No referee, though. He wasn't tapping that ass the way that Gunther was with AJ Styles on Monday night. But now he's summoning. Here come the Death Riders, right? So here comes Wheeler Yuta. Sprints out with a chair. He falls victim to, I believe, a Scorpion Death Drop. Darby hit another on Pac before placing the chair around the injured ankle, and he Pillmanized Pac's ankle with the coffin drop out of the corner. And then he reapplied the Scorpion Deathlock, and Pac tapped out right as Paul Turner recovered. And Darby Allin picks up the win. And Bryan Danielson wondered on commentary if this win would finally bring peace to Darby now that he has defeated all of the Death Riders. Again, that is a much weaker story than him vanquishing the entire group. I have watched this play out over the course of the last year, and I honestly believe that at one point, there was an idea that Darby Allin would truly be the one to eradicate the Death Riders, and it would end by cutting the head off the snake, that being Jon Moxley. And that was probably the original story. And I don't know if Darby climbing Mount Everest and not winning the championship is what changed things, but somewhere along the way, this story got changed to where now he's already beaten Moxley. Pac ends up being the final guy that he beats, and Pac is no final boss here. And I guess now Darby, one would assume now Darby is just going to move on to whatever Darby is going to do next. But the Death Riders, they're still intact. Not only are they intact, but Jon Moxley is running around as the Continental Champion. He's got another belt. You can't tell me that when Tony Khan conceived of this at the beginning of all this, the way he maps out all these things and he's probably writes them down in his fucking journal, that this is the way he had this thing all mapped out. Something changed somewhere along the way. This was the weaker story that they ended up going with here. But I will be very happy to see Darby Allin move on to something or someone else and not have anything to do anymore with the Death Riders. He's wrestled all of them, right? Claudio, Moxley, Pac, Gabe Kidd, who's only like a partial member of the Death Riders. I think we've seen enough. And I do believe that there is a decent chance that whoever it is that MJF is going to be defending that world championship against March 15th at Revolution, Darby may well be that guy. He's got to be in that conversation. He's another one that I could absolutely see in the first half of this year challenging MJF for that title. There's a lot of history between them. Darby is still one of their more popular baby faces. He didn't get his shot at the world title last year at All In. Obviously, he wasn't, he was preoccupied. So Hangman got the spot. So I think that has to be a consideration for Revolution. Speaking of Hangman, after this, we had Hangman Adam Page against the Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith, who had Big Bill in his corner. Two men that had been floundering ever since Chris Jericho decided to take his ball and go home. We have not seen Chris Jericho on television since, I want to say, April of last year. And ever since he left, it's not as if these two guys have had a whole lot to do. They did this whole learning tree thing for months on end. And they certainly led you to believe that this was all building to at least Big Bill having a match at some point with Jericho and maybe beating Jericho. And okay, you got to win over Jericho for whatever that's worth in 2025 at the time. And we never even got that. Jericho left and never came back. I think we all know where Jericho's going to be showing up very soon. But for these two guys, it's really, I mean, their careers hit the skids in many ways because there's been no upward mobility for them. The whole idea of the learning tree should have been that, okay, you're associating with a former AEW World Champion, somebody who still has a name and is looked at as a major star. And when all is said and done, I don't know about Brian Keith, but like Big Bill, I think was going to be the one in that position where he breaks free of the Jericho vortex. And then hopefully, you would hope, he goes on to something a little bit bigger and a little bit better. Didn't work out that way. We're going to see Jericho in a few weeks, probably in Riyadh. And everyone's going to be going crazy for him because it's the big return of Chris Jericho. And meanwhile, Big Bill and Brian Keith are going to be wrestling on Collision. So you tell me, who got the better end of that? This was Brian Keith's first match. This is actually a great example. This was Brian Keith's first match here on Dynamite since April of last year, which I believe was the month that Chris Jericho left television. He has not been on this show in a match anyway since then. I rest my case. After a break, Hangman no-sold a big boot in the corner Keith, though, lured him in with a drop toe hold into the turnbuckle, followed by an exploder for 2. Keith charged only to run into a fallaway slam, and he answered with a roll-up and an overhead suplex into the corner for a near fall. Page spun out of a tiger driver. He was looking for a buckshot, but he got tripped up by Big Bill. Keith missed the baseball slide. Page then missed a moonsault off the apron that he went for, landed on his feet. And so Keith slides back into the ring and he grabs the referee. And on the outside, Big Bill grabs Page by the throat. He wants to give him a choke slam onto the ring apron, but Swerve Strickland flies in from out of nowhere with a chain, and he wraps it around his throat. He's choking out Big Bill with it. This allowed Page to blast the bounty hunter with the buckshot lariat and pick up the win. Solid enough match, but like Sammy Guevara last week, there's no reason to expect that we're going to see this man again on this television program for a very long time. Sammy was a 1-week thing to give Bandido a win, and this week it was Brian Keith doing the honors for Hangman Page to keep him in the win column, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. They needed some warm bodies for these two guys here, Hangman and Swerve. I think that I have a piece of advice for the talents in AEW. Do with this what you will. I think it would be wise to stop going to Brian Keith to collect bounties on people. That would be my advice. Now, I know he's the bounty hunter and all, but when you consider this man's win-loss record, I frankly think he would be better off going off and doing bounty paper towel commercials, because this whole collecting bounties thing for people is not working out too well for him. So Hangman grabbed the mic after the match, and he called Keith a dumbass, just to rub salt in the wound here. Let me beat you and call you a dumbass, before telling Samoa Joe he's going to take everything from him. Strickland said that he had a message for MJF. If he is victorious tonight, it means he lost, as we will be coming after him relentlessly. And Page and Strickland, they looked right into the camera as Swerve said that it's been a while since he's had a world title around his waist. And this year, we get back to the top of the mountain, and we make this Swerve's house. Swerve was then interrupted by the returning Kenny Omega, and these people here in Phoenix were very happy to see Kenny here, live on the show. So he got a great welcome. And he joined the two of them in the ring, and he said he figured, why not come out now? I had my time slotted for later on in the program here, but why not come out right now when 3 of the greatest challengers for the AEW World title are standing in the middle of the ring? Feels like all 3 of us have something to prove. And for him, it's about proving that when all the fans called him the god of pro wrestling, that it meant something. And if they still believe, then he still believes. Winning a belt, you can't just be an EVP and snap your fingers and then you get a championship match. He's got to win some matches first. So whether it's friend or whether it's foe, he said he is coming for that belt. Hangman told him, it looks like there's 3 of us who want that title. Said, this is not a team effort. So if we cross paths on our way to the championship, he said, Kenny, may the best man win. He put his hand out, and Kenny shook his hand, and they played Hangman's music, and he left as Swerve walked over to Omega in the ring and kind of looked him over, and then he left, and there was no handshake between Omega and Swerve. And so with Kenny Omega left in the ring all by himself, Don Callis makes his way out to the ring with Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, and Rocky Romero, so only about 14% of his family. Says Kenny's back, and he's got to win some wrestling matches. How about he wrestles with the man who broke Ibushi's leg and the man who sent him to the hospital? Why doesn't he wrestle the walking weapon, Josh Alexander? Now, was he referring to Alexander as the one who put Omega in the hospital? Or was he still talking about Ibushi? Because I could have sworn that it was Kyle Fletcher who was the one who put Kenny Omega in the hospital and not Josh Alexander. Apparently that's been forgotten about. No mention of that ever since. So Kenny looked at his watch and he told Alexander, look, I got a little bit of time tonight. So if Phoenix will have it, and if Don Callis will have it, he's more than happy to make it happen. And Alexander was ready to go. He was in street clothes, but he was ready to go. Callis held him back, and he told Omega, you do what Daddy says. And when Daddy says, he says when matches happen here. And he says next week on Dynamite, because what I say goes. And boy, the fans in Phoenix they were not happy about that. That was kind of shitty, I will say. I really did think they were going to squeeze this match in here. You know, most weeks it's pretty obvious how this is going to go. You're going to have them tease it, and then it's like, it's going to be for next week. For some reason, I thought they were going to end up doing this match in the second hour, and then when they did this, it was like, it's kind of bullshit. But so they left, and Omega did his catchphrase, and before he was even out of the ring, before he even left the ring, they had the graphic up already in the corner of the screen showing Kenny Omega against Josh Alexander, set for Dynamite next week. They said Tony Khan was listening to what happened and he has made it official. They cannot even wait one segment, one commercial break before putting the fucking graphic up on the screen. This will never not be funny to me. It's like they got the graphics are all laid out in front of them because they never know what match is going to be made, right? And as soon as the match is made, it's like boom, boom, boom. We got and Tony's like, put the fucking graphic up. It's always hilarious to me. So now the question is, does Kyle Fletcher get involved in the match next week? They did mention that Kyle Fletcher is going to be back on Collision this weekend. He's going to be part of a tag match. I think a trios match. So does he get involved next week, or does he come out after the match is over and go after Omega or maybe Andrade? Speaking of stories that were dropped and were never followed up on, it sure would be nice to have some kind of follow-up on that. You know, Andrade and Omega, they ended up coming back at about the same time. And we know why Andrade disappeared, and there was nothing that AEW could do about it at the time, and it's like, okay, fine. But now they're both back now. And it's pretty fucking silly that nobody is mentioning the fact that Andrade, who is now back, took out Kenny Omega. He attacked Kenny Omega a few months ago without any repercussions on Dynamite and did so for Don Callis. Again, it's like it's been forgotten about. So what I'm hoping, maybe naively, is that this match is going to happen on Dynamite next week with Omega and Alexander. Omega has said, I need to rack up some wins if I want to get back into title contention, so he should beat Josh Alexander. And when that match is over, either Kyle Fletcher or Andrade, or both, will come out and attack or attempt to attack Kenny Omega, and they can revive some of that story that was just sort of left on the wayside here. In both cases, they were still doing shows at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia when Fletcher put Omega through that table and he had to be carried out. When was that, August? And then the Andrade thing happened, I think, on October 1st on the anniversary show, October 1st or October 2nd on the anniversary show. They have to follow up on one or both of them. Next week, after the match is over, would be a good time to do it. And then you can promote either a Kenny Omega-Andrade match or a Kenny Omega-Kyle Fletcher match. To be honest with you, Omega and Fletcher, that should be a Revolution match. But, you know, Kenny and Andrade could be a Revolution match. But I see Fletcher-Omega, that could absolutely be a Revolution match for March. As long as they circle back around to it. Because, honestly, since we've had Omega back on TV and talking, and now back to doing single stuff, it just defies all logic. It defies all logic that they have two people part of the same faction and they wouldn't circle back around to it. So I'm hoping and expecting that they do that next week. Andrade is going to be making his in-ring debut against Angelico, who I had no idea was even employed by this company, or still employed. But Angelico will be wrestling and losing to Andrade on Collision. But look, the one good thing I will say about all this, again, I love how they have multiple people laying claim to that world championship. You've got Omega, you've got Hangman, you've got Swerve, you've got Samoa Joe. That's not even all of them. When we talk about potential challengers for MJF, you got to have Darby on that list. You've got to think a match with Brody King is probably coming up. You've got Mark Briscoe. Like there's multiple people that you can, and I didn't even mention Ospreay whenever he comes back. That should be the Wembley match, but we don't know when he'll be cleared. At least the next 6 months. They've got people lined up for at least that long, if not longer than that, for MJF. That's good. I like that. Speaking of Brody King, backstage, he was on his way out to the ring when he bumped into MJF's Spanish language translator, Jonathan Cruz. And he alerted him that the two of us were going to have a standby match, and it's coming up next. Again with this standby match nonsense in the middle of the show, which makes absolutely no sense. They have a standby match, but it's in the middle of the show. This is the second time in 3 weeks that they have done this nonsense with Brody King. It's like it's become his gimmick now. And so we had our standby match. And Cruz was running for his life out to the ring as he was being stalked by Brody King. And the bell sounded and Cruz tried a crossbody. He bounced off King like a rubber ball. King missed a corner charge. Cruz quickly went up top for a dive, but Brody swatted him like a fly out of the air and then hit a gonzo bomb, and he got the win in about, 30 seconds? 35 seconds maybe? After the match, King took the microphone and told Bandido he wants to see him kick MJF's ass in the main event, and it'll be an honor to then face Bandido for the AEW World title. If you're joining us late, by the way, as you can see on the screen, 361 likes is the likes goal for Be the Booker tonight. That's according to The Wheel. The Wheel has spoken, so let's see if we can get 361 here during the live stream. We always get it after the fact, no matter what. But we're going to shoot for it here on the live stream. So, we had a 4-way Tornado tag team match here. Tornado rules. This was for a future shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles in FTR. The Young Bucks, Jetspeed, the Gates of Agony, and the new team of Mark Davis and Jake Doyle. Yes. From the Callis family, the former Jake something, Davis and Doyle. Sounds like the name of an accounting firm. Where do you get your taxes done? I get my taxes done at Davis and Doyle, and I've never been audited before. So Ricochet and Don Callis, they each joined on commentary for this. So much for the two-man booth. This was the Spot Fest match of the night. What do they call it? The party match? That's what this was. This was all the big spots, all the nonstop action here. We did get Toa Leona doing a moonsault at one point off the apron onto the pile outside, which popped the crowd. It popped Ricochet on commentary. It was basically Toa Leona doing his best Ricochet impression here. So the match broke down with Jetspeed and the Bucks hitting stereo quadruple dives from the top before Kevin Knight ate a super kick. Mike Bailey matrixed out. He hit the moonsault double knees. Knight flew in with a springboard lariat on Matt Jackson for the reset. Later on, we got a super kick party. Toa Leona ate 4 of them before Bailey got set up and took just enough, barely, of a bounce back double stomp powerbomb combo. That's a mouthful, but that's what they did. We've seen the Bucks do this before, where they'll do the double stomp to somebody who's draped over the top rope. They will then bounce up into the air. And in this case, I think it was Matt Jackson will catch them on the way down for a power bomb. The only thing is here, he didn't really catch him for the power bomb. He caught him late. And Bailey just sort of hit the mat and whatever. It kind of looked like a power bomb. So Knight took a BTE trigger. As Ricochet left commentary, he pulled referee Rick Knox out of the ring during the count. Ricochet said he can't be disqualified. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Jack Perry from off camera, and he brawls off with Ricochet into the crowd. Davis and Doyle, they were left in the ring with Jetspeed. And we got a time adventure to Mark Davis before trying a corner Hurricane Rana on Jake Doyle. Doyle, in the motion of the Hurricane Rana, he rolled through and he muscled him up, and then he powerbombed Bailey onto the pile of bodies outside. Davis quickly grabbed Kevin Knight, and he pulled him up by the legs into a stuffed pile driver, and he pinned him. He pinned Kevin Knight, a man who has a pinfall win over Kazuchika Okada, got pinned by Mark Davis here in this match, and it was the right move. I was pleasantly surprised to see Davis and Doyle actually pick up the win here, as they should have. When it was over, FTR pushed Stokely Hathaway out onto the stage in his wheelchair. And they went to the ring and they were holding up their titles. And of course, a brawl broke out. They had to be separated by officials and referees. And eventually, FTR retreated. Excalibur put over what a big upset it was for the two of them to win this match, as they should have. They actually won their first match together. And that shouldn't be a big deal. Like, you would think, oh, okay, someone is debuting or a new team is debuting. It's their first match. Of course they're going to win, right? In wrestling today, it doesn't always go that way. Thankfully, in this case, it did. If you wanted these guys to have any real credibility as a team, you can't put them out there in their first night in together and have them lose, or even if they didn't take the pin, to have them not win. Why would you do that? Why would you handicap them on their very first night in? So I was happy to see them get the win. The only surprising thing about it was that they're heels, and so are FTR. So what they have done now is they've set up a future heel versus heel match with two teams that the fans don't like or aren't supposed to like for the tag team titles, which is a bit of a surprise. And they didn't tell us when the match would be happening. I'm sure it'll be on TV in the next few weeks. But anyway, that's a double-edged sword though, right? So I'm happy they won their first match, but in winning their first match, they actually earned a shot at the AEW tag team titles, which they are not going to win, which means they are going to lose. So it's a double-edged sword. I cannot see them taking the titles off FTR before Copeland and Christian come back. I just think that whole story was set up for a title match. How are they going to take the titles off FTR before those two guys come back? Of course they're going to come back. Unless their contracts are up at midnight one of these days and we don't know about it. Wouldn't that be a story? But I mean, the last time we saw them again, Edge's wife was did she take a shatter machine or a spike pile driver, I think, from FTR? It's like, of course, they're going to be back and they're going to be going after these guys. And this time, unlike last time, I'm sure they're going to want those titles on the line. So right now, it just feels like FTR is sort of waiting things out until they're ready to come back. And so whoever they defend the titles against, it doesn't really feel like those titles are in all that much jeopardy right now. We had Kris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Harley Cameron. Trios match against the Triangle of Madness, Thekla, Julia Hart, and Skye Blue. The heels worked over Harley Cameron during the break as the Sisters of Sin. They stopped Willow and Statlander from initially making the hot tag, only to get beaten down by Statlander, who did make the tag and faced off with Thekla. Julia tried to sneak attack here. She got caught, though, into a backbreaker. Skye Blue was catapulted into the corner. We got some running charges into the corner to Thekla. That led to a spinning fisherman's driver, not buster. But Skye Blue made the save, and she spiked Statlander with a DDT. So Nightingale planted Blue with a spine buster. Thekla, though, took her head off with a buzzsaw kick. Cameron returned with a backstabber, allowing Statlander to make the tag to Harley. Willow then sort of backpacked her tag team partner onto a splash to Thekla. Sisters of Sin, though, broke up the count, laid out Harley with their spinning side slam. Thekla took out Statlander, but Nightingale met her with a discus lariat. And Willow wanted a doctor bomb. Thekla spun out, and she dropped down and she did her spider pose, which is actually very stupid because, like, I'm watching this here. She's in control, but she stops to do her spider pose. Then she has to get out of the spider pose to stand back up and then go for a move. It's like, come on, just hit the fucking move. What are you doing here? You're not scaring anybody with this. So out of the spider pose, she goes to spear Willow, but Statlander takes the bullet instead for her friend. And then we got a curb stomp from Thekla delivered to Statlander, and Thekla pins the AEW Women's World Champion. It's about time that Thekla got a big win. That should net her a title match. When, I don't know, but one of these days. She should be next in line now for a shot because she pinned the champion. You pin the champion, you get a title shot. Now, I'm not even a fan of that. My belief is you pin the champion, you win the title. That's not how they do things in wrestling, though, these days. especially in AEW with all the eliminator matches that Tony loves to do, where you got to beat the champion twice. But Thekla pins the champion, and I like that outcome. I think that's exactly the way it should have gone down, and we'll see. We'll see when that match happens. I don't know, but like the tornado tag match earlier, again, it was the right outcome, setting up challengers for these titles in the near future. Now, Renee was backstage talking with Jetspeed about their rocky start here to 2026. Swerve Strickland interrupted, and he said that Speedball and himself have had some battles in the past outside of AEW. Whenever he and Bayley mix it up again, they're going to have a fire match. I don't think he meant an Inferno match. I just think he meant their match is going to be fire. So then he called Kevin Knight the future of this business and said his time is coming. I love it. Your time is coming, kid. That time ain't right now, but your time is coming. That time just ain't tonight. So after Swerve left and before Knight could even respond, Hangman Page walks in. And he said he told Samoa Joe that he would take everything from him. And he said this Saturday, he takes the trios titles because it's going to be the Hangman. It's going to be Jetspeed taking on the Ops for the AEW trios titles. And Bayley couldn't believe it. He goes, "Are you for real?" And Hangman said, "Yes, of course I'm for real." And then he walked away with Jetspeed high-fiving. They were all excited. And then we found out later that Tony Khan made it official. So that match is happening on Collision. And I believe Collision is being taped tonight, so the match would already be over. And it's entirely possible that we already have new trios champions, because if you missed the news at the beginning of the stream, it sounds like Powerhouse Hobbs is gone as of midnight, 20 more minutes. And Powerhouse Hobbs will be contractually free from AEW and on his way to WWE. And I would be very surprised if that's the case, if they don't just take the titles off the Ops. They have enough members to make it work, but I have a feeling those titles are probably not going to be held anymore by Samoa Joe. And then the main event of the show. We had MJF in his first title defense of the AEW World Championship. His next one, by the way, will be Saturday on the Limitless Wrestling show. He's defending the title on an independent wrestling show against Alec Price, who we've had Alec Price in House of Glory. He's a very talented wrestler, but he's getting a shot at the AEW World Championship. It's like, okay, sure. But before we get there, he has to defend his title here tonight on this show against the Ring of Honor World Champion in Bandido. Bandido had new entrance gear, including a helmet and a sword. He rolled through a monkey flip. He fired off an arm drag and a head scissors before multiple leg sweeps for near falls. MJF dodged one of them. He called Bandido a dumbass, only to get swept again, and Bandido pointed the finger gun at MJF's head. So will Page be the first World Tag and Trios champ? Never mind, Omega was. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if that's accurate. Power Man Hobbs is headed to NXT. You think they'll call him Powerhouse? He probably will go to NXT, by the way. NXT has just been completely raided by Triple H in the main roster. So, I mean, if you think about it, anybody who signs now with WWE, they ain't going straight to the main roster, because NXT is going to need all the help it can get with all these call-ups that are going on. Honestly, it's very interesting if Hobbs goes to NXT, because Ricky Saints is in NXT. And they've been partners and friends, and they've been enemies. There's a lot of history, right, from Team Taz with Ricky and with Will Hobbs. So that could be something. That could be a whole ass feud all by itself in NXT. Unless they bring Hobbs in to be Ricky's heavy, to kind of watch his back, I could see them doing something like that too. It'll be interesting to see what the whole situation is here with the Hobbs thing once it becomes official. But anyway, MJF at this point, he took a powder outside the ring, and Bandido went for a dive initially. But as he walked around ringside, Bandido simply readjusted. And he wiped out MJF with a dive. Back inside, MJF rolled away from a frog splash, and he suckered him over to the apron to hang him up by the left arm. So he made that his target, the left arm, the left shoulder here in this match. There was a gnarly pump handle driver by MJF that almost spiked Bandido on his head for a near fall. MJF avoided a handspring something that Bandido was going for, but he kicked the bad arm. Bandido, he went for he got half a handspring, and as he was upside down, MJF just kicked him right in the bad arm. So the butterfly shoulder breaker connected. MJF then snapped the arm into the corner for a near fall, and MJF was in firm control as they headed into the final commercial break. Coming out, hey, Zane, welcome to the channel. Asuka says, yeah. Hey, in the chat, let's come up with some, if Hobbs has to change his name, let's come up. What do you think a potential new name might be that WWE might give Powerhouse Hobbs? I don't know if I want to know the answer to this question, but what might his new name end up being? Ricky Starks became Ricky Saints, which was not a terrible change. So it doesn't have to be anything too dramatic. Let's see what you guys come up with. So coming out of that final break, MJF teased the Three Amigos spot. Bandido, though, fought him off. MJF tried for it again. Bandido, though, muscled him up slowly instead with the bad arm. The man is freaky strong. So even with the bad shoulder, he pressed MJF over his head. He held him there with one arm before slamming him down. Then he wiped out MJF on the floor with a massive dive out over the top rope. William Hobson. Powerhouse Pete. Oh, yeah, what a name. Remember Pineapple Pete? From the COVID days of Dynamite at Daly's Place? Remember Pineapple Pete? Bearcat Hobbs. I'm going to throw you out for that one. We don't need no Bearcat. No Bearcat. Just go with Hobbs. I agree. Bad News Hobbs. Hacksaw Hobbs. Now, the Hacksaw name has been passed down, right? Butch Reed used it. I'm sure before him somebody used it. Right? Duggan. I don't know. Hacksaw Hobbs could work. Yeah, I feel like, though, they don't do that anymore in WWE. We don't have enough, gimmick names anymore. Like back in the day, you had the Road Warriors and Demolition. You had Axe and Smash. You had the Big Boss Man. You had Mr. Perfect. You had Jake the Snake. What do we have today? We have Cody Rhodes. We have Roman Reigns. We have Drew McIntyre. Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn. When did we end up with all these boring fucking names in wrestling? See, that's part of the problem in wrestling. We don't have enough cool names anymore. Hacksaw Hobbs. I like that. See, it harkens back to the old school. Everyone just uses their real name now. I mean, some people did back in the day, but what happened to all the cool names? Well, Duke the Dumpster is not one of the cool names. Henry O. Godwin is not an example of what I'm talking about. So then on the other side of the ring, after MJF got wiped out by this dive, he goes around to the other side of the ring, right across from the hard cam. And Bandido was setting up for another dive. MJF slowly climbs over the barricade, and he thinks he's in a safe zone now, right? He's out of harm's way. Instead, now I should point out that in this venue, when you go over the barricade, there, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet. There might have been a gap. There's like an open space of 6 or 7 feet before you even have the front row of fans. So they had some room between the fans and the barricade. So that's where MJF is standing. And Bandido goes up to the top rope. And he dives and he clears the barricade. And he lands on top of MJF, technically in the crowd. And everybody is going nuts for Bandido. And he climbs up on top of the not the announce desk, on top of the barricade. And he's posing. And everyone is just losing their minds. And I'm just watching him get him in the fucking ring. The title is on the line. He's standing there posing look at me. I'm like, yeah, the championship could be won right now if you just put the guy back in the ring. So they do end up back inside. And Bandido hits a tornado dive off the top, and then a code red. Only gets a near fall out of it. MJF gets up. He was bent over, clutching the middle rope, in perfect position for the 21 plex. Bandido tried. He just could not bring him over to complete the move. The bad shoulder would not allow him to do so. So Bandido ended up out on the apron, and MJF caught him with a slingshot cutter back into the ring. He covered the challenger. Bandido kicked out, though, using the right arm. He wasn't using the bad left one. So Bandido came back with a picture-perfect shooting star press off the top rope. MJF barely kicked out on the pin attempt that followed. Bandido tried again for the 21 plex, but MJF landed on his feet. Then we got a series of, I don't know, about a gazillion different quick pin attempts here. Series of pin attempts between these men. Neither man got anything. Bandido followed that, I should say, with an X knee that connected, and he had MJF out on his feet, and he was primed and ready. You know it usually follows the X knee. And this time he hit the 21 plex, but he could not follow up because of the arm. He's laying there. He's holding his shoulder. Couldn't get the bridge that he normally would get. So finally, he drapes the arm over the chest. MJF grabs the arm, though, and transitions into a salt of the earth submission to the bad arm. Bandido struggled towards the ropes. He almost made it. MJF, though, released the hold. He dragged him back to the center of the ring. He got a yes lock applied, and I believe it might have been Brian on commentary who called it that. And then I think they called it the label lock. Not supposed to call it the yes lock, but the yes lock is what he got applied. And Bandido, he stuck his middle finger up, and everybody cheered. But as MJF wrenched back on the hold, Bandido went limp. You see, here's what Bandido should have done. Instead of really fighting back against this hold and putting up the middle finger in one last act of defiance, right? He should have just gently tapped. I can't say he should have smiled, but we wouldn't see it because he was wearing a mask. He should have just gently tapped out. You know, that's what he should have done here. But no, instead he goes out. Referee Bryce Remsburg, he checks the hand goes limp, and we got a ref stoppage. And just like that, MJF retains the championship. I thought that Danielson was great here on commentary talking about that hold. Obviously, it's his hold, so of course he's going to be excited for it. But just talking about like the effect that it has on the shoulder nerve and everything he was talking about, like it's these situations I feel like on commentary where he shines. So an exhausted MJF was laying on the bottom rope in the corner, and he told them, "Cut my music." So when they said Bandido would be an AEW World Champion, he laughed. But after wrestling him, they're right. Bandido, as much as it pains him to admit it, he's going to be a world champion one day. And I was like, he is a world champion. Because there was like a slight delay. And then he said, in All Elite Wrestling. I said, okay, all right, let's not forget he has a world title right now. And he goes, so you will be a world champion one day in All Elite Wrestling, which unfortunately means I have to do this. And he attacked him with the title belt. So now he was signaling that he's going to rip the mask off. And he goes to rip the mask off, but here comes Brody King, and of course MJF heads for the hills. This was a great main event. This was a really fun match. Bandido was always fun to watch. You knew he wasn't winning it, but they made it as dramatic as they could. You know, with some of those near falls. They told the story with the bad shoulder to give Bandido that out. And MJF didn't even have to cheat to win. I think the only nefarious thing he even did in this entire match was like in the first 5 minutes, I think he had like an eye rake. And that was about it. I was very surprised that the diamond ring did not factor into this at all, considering they both have them. And the champion, the heel champion got the clean win here. But I thought they were going to shoot some kind of angle when this was over. And they didn't do that. But you could look at it as Brody King ran out. MJF ran away. And so what they've done here, I think, is they've just added another challenger to the growing list of challengers for MJF's title, because they can absolutely get a television match out of Brody King against MJF, at some point in these next few weeks. Keep lining him up. I would like to see MJF working more matches on this show. I don't need to see him wrestling every week, but like they openly mock the fact on commentary that he rarely wrestles. And on the one hand, like it keeps him more special than maybe most people on the roster because of that, but I do think we need to see him more in the ring. Because it just gets ridiculous. The fact that we rarely ever see him wrestle. And so as the champion, I'd like to see him have more of these like competitive title defenses on TV. Line up Brody King. Line up Mark Briscoe. I'm not saying Mark Briscoe has to put his title on the line, but Mark Briscoe was the last man to beat MJF. He pinned him in the tables and tax match back at All Out only a few months ago. Right? I think it was All Out. So you could definitely get a match out of that. I don't see that as a pay-per-view match, but you can definitely get a match out of that. And I already laid out all the other potential challengers, at least through All In, if not beyond All In. MJF's got a full plate as far as that goes. I thought it was a good show overall. Was not the most exciting show. Honestly, a lot of these shows are not. They are missing. They don't have that one really hot story. They don't have it. Everything is some stories are better than others, but they don't have any stories that are really kind of grabbing you like, man, I got to tune in next week to find out what the next chapter of this story is going to be. What's going to happen next? They don't have that. That's what's missing on this show. But it was a competent show in that we obviously got some really good wrestling, but again, they set up certain challengers for some of the championships going forward. Kenny Omega, he's going to have a match next week with Josh Alexander, and we'll see where his story goes. They made it clear he's got to win some matches if he's going to get a title shot. So on the whole, I think it was a good show. And this Hobbs thing, again, this is a whole developing story here. I don't know if there's going to be other people who also have contracts coming due. And look, it's exciting to follow along and find out who's going to go where. But the big moves tonight, Rascals to AEW, and it appears Hobbs likely going to WWE. Take a look at the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite Maximum Carnage? 47.8% thumbs up for tonight's show. 18.3% thumbs in the middle. And roughly 34% thumbs down. So we're currently sitting at 317 likes. The goal is 361. So if we're going to do Be the Booker, we got a little bit of work to do there. So get on that. I'll leave that up to you guys. We didn't do it on Monday, did we? No, we didn't. Monday was all screwed up because of the time. The one thing about these WWE shows, when they're international and I'm going live at like different times, it kind of screws everything up. So it'll be that way again on Friday. SmackDown, I'll be able to watch that on my VPN at 3 o'clock. So I'm figuring probably live 9 o'clock. 8:30, 9 o'clock on Friday night. I will mention I'm going to be live tomorrow night here on the channel. I'm going live after TNA on AMC. And that's 9 to 11 Eastern. So figure 11:15, 11:20. I'll be live right here on the channel. We're doing another stream, a bonus show tomorrow, talking TNA and whatever goes down on that debut AMC show. Oh, I'm sure I'll have some stuff to talk about when it comes to Perez Hilton. I'm sure this will be a review not to be missed. Let's get into your super chats here. Our pal Joseph Stewart is with us. Always reliable to join us here. Maximum Carnage and no blood. What's up, Tony Khan? I will not criticize there being no blood on these shows. Joseph wants to know, were you a fan of Shawn Michaels and Pamela Anderson doing those backstage promos in 1995? Back then, I was a big Pamela Anderson fan of pretty much whatever she did. I'm sure the entire roster was too. Were you a fan of Shawn Michaels and Pamela Anderson together? They look really cute together. Honestly, every time I saw her and when Shawn was like kind of hanging around her, like after he won the Rumble, it looked like she wanted absolutely nothing to do with him. She couldn't wait to get out of there. I think for her, it was just a payday. Her agent like booked her for it. And it's like, just get me the fuck out of here. I'm telling you, go back and watch her like body language at the end of the 95 Rumble. Like, she absolutely does not want to be there. Do you remember the two of them being on the cover of one of the WWF magazines in 1995? I do. Do you remember when Razor Ramon made an appearance on the Jerry Springer Show? As I recall, I believe he actually had a replica Intercontinental title with him that he gifted to a young child on that show. So if I'm thinking of the same show, then yes, I do remember that. Do you think Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre could be the main event of WrestleMania this year? I do, and I talked about that on TNT last night. And you know what? I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. Frees up Cody to go do something else. Do you know why Paul White changed his name to Big Show after he debuted in WWE? Because that's the name WWE gave him. Paul White sounded very boring, and they couldn't call him the Giant anymore, so they came up with the Big Show. There was a rumor at the time that they were going to call him the Big Nasty, but ultimately they went with the Big Show. What do you think WCW should have done to keep Paul White there as the Giant? I don't think there was anything they could do. I think he saw the writing on the wall and was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I think he realized, if I want to save my career, I better go up north. And honestly, he made the right call. Do you remember the WWF magazine with Bret Hart and Bart Simpson on the cover? I do. That was from 95. Do you remember when Bret Hart appeared on an episode of The Simpsons? Of course. Of course. Do you remember when Bret appeared on Mad TV? Yes, I do. With Will Sasso. Or when Sting appeared on Mad. That I don't remember. I remember Sting in the Sprite commercial where he beat up the kid. Commercials used to be fun. I don't remember him being on Mad TV though. I must have missed that episode. Were you a fan of Ahmed Johnson's move, the Pearl River Plunge? I actually was. I thought it looked cool. Did Bret Hart ever have a match against Ahmed Johnson in WWE? I'm going to say no, because Bret wasn't injured and put on the shelf for months on end, which means he probably steered clear of Ahmed Johnson. Did Stone Cold ever have a match against Ahmed Johnson in WWE? Maybe a house show? I don't believe it was televised if he did. Have you seen the movie Cocoon, which was directed by Ron Howard? No. Were you a fan of The Simpsons? And if so, who are your top 5 favorite Simpsons characters? I was never a Simpsons guy. Like, I played the video game back then, Krusty's... whatever it was called. But yeah, I just was never a Simpsons guy. If I had to pick my favorite characters, Bart and Homer. This would probably be it. And then maybe Sideshow Bob. Do you think Bayley will go to AEW in the future? I think you need to go back and listen to my prediction show from the beginning of the year. Your answer is in there. Was The Undertaker already in WWE when he did Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan? No, I don't believe he was. Did WWE go behind the scenes of Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan, with Hogan showing the behind the scenes? I don't believe so. No, I don't believe so. Did WWE go behind the scenes of Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan? No, and I have absolutely no interest in seeing it if they did. What is your favorite Jerry Lewis movie? Don't have one. Don't have one. Were you a fan of I Love Lucy? My mom was. I was not. Was Brother Love originally supposed to be The Undertaker's manager? He was The Undertaker's manager, but it was not planned to be a long-term thing. It was just to introduce him. Were you a fan of the funeral parlor segments that Paul Bearer hosted on Superstars? I was. There were some memorable ones on there. Did you know Scarlett Johansson was in Home Alone 3? You sure about that? Have you seen the Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Scarlett Johansson, and Julianne Moore movie Don John? I have not. I have not. Do you remember the TV show Third Rock from the Sun? I do. What is your favorite Scarlett Johansson movie? Don't have one. What is your favorite Julianne Moore movie? 9 Months. With Hugh Grant. Have you seen the Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence movie Life? I have not. And I hope you're having a wonderful week, Solomonster. Have a safe day today. Thank you, Joseph. As always, you as well. Dried ribs and chicken with flavor. The Rascals coming to AEW was not surprising. More gold in AEW means more faction wars. Just what we need. More factions. More trios and more factions. Death Scythe, what do you get when you cross a snowman and a vampire? You get frostbite. Frostbite. Fun fact, maids don't get tired, they get sweepy. Okay, well that was not good. Should have quit while you were ahead. Dried ribs and chicken. WWE less is more approach is like having a low-fat meal, having less portions on your plate and having seltzer water. Now, actually, it would be like having less portions of your plate, but paying more for the meal. That's WWE in a nutshell in 2026. Also, he says, I have a prediction for the Owen Hart tournament winners and King and Queen of the Ring, 2026 King and Queen of the Ring winners. Well, you're assuming if they have King and Queen of the Ring this year. My picks are Braun Breaker, he says, and Rhea Ripley. Owen Hart tournament winners, Ospreay and Jamie Hayter. Oh, gee, I wonder what they have in common. So they both go to Wembley? I think there's a better chance that Mercedes wins again and finally gets her big crowning moment at Wembley and wins the World Championship this year. Hey, Justin is with us. Justin Hesse. We got a super chat here that says, from Death Scythe, Cody Rhodes, who used to be the face of AEW, said years ago, Darby Allin has the potential to be the face of AEW. Do you think that's true, or has someone else already taken that mantle? Yeah, I don't see him as the face of AEW. He's the crash test dummy of AEW, but I don't see him as the face of AEW. He's already been surpassed by Hangman. I think there's a lot of other people on the roster. You could say MJF even is the face of the company. But, you know, Swerve, Hangman, MJF, and, you know, they're building up other people like Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita and Kevin Knight. Darby Allin is not the face, nor will he be the face of AEW. Duff's Vids, I don't know if anyone ever said this before, but tonight Justin Roberts' smile/face reminded me of the Joker from Batman the Animated Series, but on cocaine. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. When he was doing the introduction for the main event, and they had this very awkward, like, lingering shot of him with this really creepy smile on his face. Like he was holding it for too long. That was very creepy. Death Scythe, what did Dr. Robotnik do in retaliation for Sonic ramming into him 8 times? He made sure Sonic lost his ring. Food Hive. First night back in this MF playing Wheel of Fortune. I saved it just for you, Food Hive. I saved the wheel just for you. Don't get snippy with me. Death Scythe says, what's the difference between a wife and a maid? Nothing, because you're paying for both of them. And who's more likely to go to WWE in the future, Swerve, Okada, or Ospreay? Ospreay. I don't think any of them are going to WWE for at least a few years. I think they're very content and probably are locked into long-term deals anyway. But of those 3, Ospreay. I really don't think Swerve ever wants to go back there. I think there's a lot of anger there over the way things ended last time and how he feels they viewed him. And so this is like his chance now to kind of stick it to them by having success somewhere else. And this last deal that he signed with Tony Khan, I think, was a long-term deal, and it was just last year. I think he signed it. So, yeah, I don't think he's ever going back. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett. Gotta say, Solo, not feeling this heel versus heel upcoming tag match. The Arizona crowd was near dead. Lastly, I'm not going to lie. I swear I thought Brody was going to turn on Bandido. Well, why would he do that? That would be stupid. They're a great team. I didn't think the crowd was dead. I thought the crowd was actually pretty lively. But, yeah, I mean, the heel versus heel dynamic there is not great, but you had to give him a win. You can't have Mark Davis and Jake Doyle in their first match together. You want them to be perceived as players in the tag division, and you fucking beat them. Can't do that. Can't do that. If you're going to do that, you're better off not even including them in the match. Give me back shots, Solomonster. Put Hobbs with the Vision and give Theory the boot. I could get behind that. And just have an entire group of badasses. And Logan Paul. Wink the Cosmic Grandma, stoked to see Angelico on Saturday. Okay, then. I don't know. I haven't really been stoked to see Angelico since the Lucha Underground days. It just isn't the same. Deathside says, after watching not just WWE, but wrestling in general in 2025, now I know how wrestling fans felt in 1995. Brother, you have no idea. You have no idea. Wink says, is it bad booking no Mercedes segment tonight? No. She literally just did a whole segment saying she's taking time off. She's going away. So it wouldn't have really made sense for her to be on the show. I don't think we're going to see her for a while. Justin Hesse says, turning 47 in about 57 minutes. Thanks for all you do. Well, there's a birthday Brie mode for you. I don't even have to say anything. I hope you enjoy some Brie on your birthday, Justin. I hope it's I hope you have a great 57th shit, I just aged you by 10 years. I hope you have I hope you have a good 47th birthday. And I don't know, I don't know what you're doing, but maybe you can if you want to spend part of it with me here on the stream, I'll be live tomorrow night after TNA. Marshall with the $4.99. Does Joseph Stewart write his questions a day before, or is he just that prepared? I think he's just that prepared. He's very focused. He's very laser focused. He knows what he wants to ask, and he asks it. Warhawk Rambo. I doubt Swerve will go back to WWE. Ditto for Mox. Yeah, I feel the same way about Moxley, but more so for more so for Swerve. Swerve ain't going back. Swerve, I don't think, is very happy about how things ended last time. And honestly, Tony Khan has treated him like gold. Pushed him hard almost from day one. Tag team champion. Won the world title. Still in the world title picture. Getting paid more money, I'm sure, than he's ever made in his entire life. Why would he leave? He's valued here. He's wanted. And Alex says, Brother Solo, I'm just glad our Giants signed John Harbaugh. Do you think he approves Brie mode? They signed John Harbaugh? I thought they had a meeting and he left without a deal. What are you talking about? Hold on a second here. There's more breaking news tonight. There's news just breaking all over the place. I'm on ESPN.com right now. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are working to finalize an agreement to make him their next head coach, and barring a setback, a deal is expected, according to Adam Schefter. On Wednesday night, the deal is not final and contract numbers are still being negotiated, with one source telling Schefter there still is a lot of work. There still is a lot of work to be done. But barring any setbacks, he is ready to accept the Giants' deal, and the team is expected to hire him as soon as possible. Well, there you go. I thought the last report I saw a few hours ago was that they had a meeting today, and they left it without a deal, and he was going to be having another interview, I think, tomorrow. And all of a sudden, I guess things changed. Okay, well, there you go. See, what I would have done is I would have sent Will Hobbs to the Giants, and I would have sent John Harbaugh to WWE. We can get maybe we can get a three-way trade going. Get the Rascals in there. That's the move I would have made. He's waiting for the Raiders to call him tomorrow. Death Scythe says, since you said Ospreay to WWE, what do you think a match between him and Randy Orton would be like? It would give Orton his first 5 stars from Meltzer. Only if it's in the Tokyo Dome, my friend. Only if it's in the Tokyo Dome. No, I think it would be a good match. I mean, that's not like a dream match for me or anything. I'd rather see Ospreay in there with guys like Gunther and Ilya Dragunov. Him and Sami Zayn, I'm sure, would have a banger. Him and Seth Rollins. Him and Roman. I think that would be an interesting clash of styles. Him and AJ Styles. But apparently we're not going to get the chance to see it if AJ is true to his word in wrestling his last match this year. Then it is not going to happen. Food Hive, can you spin the wheel for me? Nope. Already spun it. You missed it. You got to go back and watch the spin. We do the spin once at the beginning of the streams from now on. There's a bunch of random likes totals on there. Whichever one we land on, that will be the likes goal for Be the Booker from now on. You got to be here early in the streams to enjoy the spin. Warhawk Rambo. I think Mox said in an interview that he would rather work at 7-Eleven than go back to WWE. That should say a lot about how he feels about WWE management. Did he say that before or after Vince left, though? I'd be curious. Wink the Cosmic Grandma. Mark Davis looks and punches a lot like Stan Hansen, and that's a good thing. He hits a wicked pile driver, I'll say that. And naked dried chicken without flavor. I would pay Rhea and Io to purposely show color on WWE TV. I will pay their fine. Why are you obsessed over these women bleeding on your television screen? I think that's a little disturbing. All right, so we, again, at the beginning of the stream, there's the wheel. We landed on 361 likes, which I do believe we have surpassed. You sons of bitches got me there. So we are at 369. Barely, but we beat it. But such is the case when it comes to Dynamite on Wednesdays. It usually is the slowest night of the week. But we still made it. Justin, with a super chat, says, I'll never forget my best friend's face as he ran into the room with tears in his eyes yelling, "It's a boy." We never went back to Thailand. Don't you hate when that happens? Oh, man. Got to be the scariest experience of his life. There's a lesson, though. There's a lesson to be learned there. I don't know what it is, but there's a lesson to be learned. But anyway, Wink, the Cosmic Grandma. Seeing Swerve come out to defend Hangman feels so weird. It's one thing to team, but this is going too far. Yeah, they're almost getting too chummy now. It's like they're going steady. Soon they're going to go to the movies together. They're going to go grab a drink at the bar together. This is getting out of hand. I don't like this. All right, let's be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
We didn't get to do it the other night, but we're doing it tonight. Yeah, it feels weird that we get Be the Booker on a Wednesday night, says Big G, when we didn't get it on Monday. Well, sometimes that happens. Weird things happen. AEW is killing Be the Booker. All right, here we go. Tag team Be the Booker. We have the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart. Look at those mustaches. Look at those handlebar mustaches. Look at these geeks. Smoking Guns. They used to shoot blanks when they got in the ring. They're like cap guns. Are going to take on Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins. It's the Shield against the Smoking Guns. That is not a money match. That is not a money match. I'm sorry. Women's Be the Booker. Now we're talking. Io Skye. A fine choice. And Io Skye will be taking on Ruka. That should be a match at some point. Well, I guess we'll see what brand she lands on. Probably SmackDown. But at some point, we should actually get that match on TV. That could be a big PLE match in a couple of years. Ruka against Io Skye. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. Now, our main event. We only get one of these tonight, so we better make it good. Oh my goodness. Look at the peaks and freaks. Look at this. Look at those biceps. Look at his arms. Look at this guy's right arm. Big pop-up pump. Scott Steiner. It looks like he keeps like a little man in his arm. There's no amount of chicken breast and greens that you could eat to get arms that look like that. I'm sorry. It's not possible. Scott Steiner against Kyle Fletcher. There you go. And not a bad main event. Not a bad main event. Wasn't this the period where he wrestled like shit? Yes. Because he had drop foot. He hurt his foot in WCW, so the fact that he was all roided up, just call it what it is, and the fact that he had the bad foot, he just wrestled like shit. Like he had terrible matches. He was cooked by that point. But go back and watch Scott Steiner, like early 90s Scott Steiner. Man, that guy was a freak, and he was well built without going completely overboard the way he did in the late 90s. Pump goes over. You mean Kyle Fletcher will have to do the job for Big Papa Pump? Scott Steiner would roast Kyle Fletcher on the microphone. I wouldn't be able to understand half of what he said, but you're probably right. He would definitely be more. He would be a more entertaining promo, especially if he gets some of that Steiner math. See, that can't be beat. Well, tomorrow night, I'm going to be right back here live after 11 o'clock, after TNA's big debut on AMC. I'm doing a rare TNA live stream. So I hope you'll join me for that. There could be some surprises on the show. We know AJ Styles will be there. Perhaps Mike Santana will, as he should, win back the TNA World Heavyweight Championship to undo the horrible mistake they made a couple months ago. The only reason I think there's a chance it might not happen is because they have a pay-per-view on Saturday. So I don't know what they may want to save for the pay-per-view. I don't hear anybody talking about that pay-per-view either. But it should be a fun night. If not, it'll be a fun night here. You know, you could always rely on that. And then on Friday, SmackDown, a little bit earlier than usual. I will be live probably around 9 o'clock. So I'll keep you guys posted on X. It'll be 8:30 or 9. I'm not going live at fucking 11:30 at night. So fuck that. I can watch it earlier. I'm going to take full advantage of it. Fucking 3 hours, these shows. But yeah, that's going to be a full week there. I've been streaming every night since Monday. And then, of course, this weekend, we have episode 947 of The Sound Off coming up. And it looks like there'll be some news to talk about. Tomorrow, RSPW Rewind, the first one in over 3 years. It will drop early if you are a channel member. During the day, keep your eyes peeled. You get early access. You get first dibs on a brand new, nearly hour-long RSPW Rewind. And then at some point thereafter, everybody else will get it. But that was from one of the Super Chat goals that you guys hit last month. You guys unlocked it. And so I will giveth to you. There's some very interesting posts that you will find in this installment. So it was fun to do. I hope you guys have as much fun with it as I had recording it earlier today. Be well. Stay safe. A lot of big news tonight. What time is SmackDown on Eastern time? 3 p.m. Eastern. Raw next week in Ireland is also 3 o'clock. This week it was 2 o'clock. So Eastern time on Netflix next Monday, it's 3. And it'll be the same thing on Friday for SmackDown, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, I'm out. Have yourselves a good night. Come back for the Impact review tomorrow night. Until then, take care, guys.